Welcome to all students. Myself, Om Prakash Godara, Assistant Professor, Principal of Seed Technology, Department Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Science, Jyoti Vidyapit, Human University, Jaipur. Today, we discuss about our topic role of WTO in seed marketing. Firstly, globalization in trade and investment through harmonizations of national law, particularly dealing with intellectual property right, is one of the major impact of GATT and WTO. The contributions of knowledge as a factor of production is being increasingly given central importance in economic developments. The tension between public need and private control that will mount the first challenge. The conflict between chemical intensive agriculture, despite declining productivity of inputs, and the non-chemical sustainable technological innovations generated by farmers as well as farms, national or international. Will pose second challenge the increasing trend toward larger area under fewer varieties and the need for food security through diversified biological systems will be the third source of developments of national development strategy. Conflict and commercializations and incorporations of intellectual property right in development of national development strategy will be crucial in defining the role India will play markets on one hand and overcoming deprivations and hunger in the country on the other. The strategy proposed is aimed at marketing Indian agriculture not only globally more competitive but also domestically more progressive by using knowledge as strategic resources so that agriculture sustain livelihood of millions of households depend upon it in an environmentally sustainable manner. The major content is that India should not be the challenge posed by World Trade Organization as if it will remain always an important country and that it has no substantive intellectual property to offer to world markets. There must be a registration system for encouraging protections of local land, bases and incentive systems must be generated for in situ considerations. The provision of trips need to be strengthened to include a microorganism but exclude life forms. After registration system of grassroots innovations, unlike utility patent systems, this registration system should be live product patent for 10 years, just as proposed in Australian innovations patent systems. Widespread patent search facility for educations and entrepreneurial networks and centers so that quality of research and educations can be competitive. Just a global registry has been proposed for wines under TRIPS. India must insist the similar global registry must exist for green small innovation too. This will help link innovations, investment, and enterprises each vector of which may be in different part of the world. Global trade regimes has to deal the several related issues in regard to biosafety, such as ability of the importing country to assess the risks and deal with them. Regulations for labeling or GMO products so that consumers can make informed choice, restrict GMO, which may pose hazard to the very viability of the food security. For example, through Terminator gene technology, etc., prior informed consents of farmers must be ensured while cruising on farm trials or transgenic. The reciprocity in effective protections must exist. Those who assess farmer varieties must disclose, acknowledge, and undertake appropriate institutions. And PVB patent claimant should unambiguously prove that the materials in which improvements have been made had been made, obtained lawfully and rightfully. Globalization in trade and investment through harmonizations of national law, particularly dealing with intellectual property rights, is one of the major impact of trade and WTO. The contributions of knowledge as a factor of productions is being increasingly given central importance in economic developments. The management of knowledge not in just in farms but also in non-farm sector will become very crucial in coming year. The intellectual property right deal with the reciprocity in rights and responsibilities of inventor and society at large. In lieu of the disclosure of the patented innovations or inventions, the society agreed to recognize the right of inventor to exclude other not authorized from commercial exploitations of the inventions. It is a kind of social contract between society and the inventor. Society gain by getting access to the inventive process and product which can be used by other inventors for making improvements as well as developing substantive new innovations. Inventor benefits by having incentive to invest himself or herself or assign it someone else interested in commercial exploration of the inventions. If other could easily copy the inventions as often happens in the case of process patent, then investor will not make major investments and inventor will have no incentive to disclose. The plants and animals were kept out of the view of patent when the concept was developed initially. However, in 50s, discussion started on finding out way in which more plant varieties could be developed under breeder and breeders could be given incentive to innovate and disclose the improvements. The sui generis systems created for protection of new varieties of plants by International Convention for Protections of New Varieties of Plants UPOV was a response to basically three factors. 1998, reluctance in 15s to the applications of present systems to agriculture and to the plant breeding in particulars. Realizations that a system was needed to protect plant varieties somehow to also safeguard the interest of the breeders and the conditions of patentability might not be appropriate for the plant varieties. Subsequently, the 1961 Act was modified in the 1978, which was further modified in 99. After ratifications of 1991 Act by more than six countries, it has come into force now. While trade-related aspect of intellectual property right agreements does not explicitly state that sui generis systems should be compatible with provisions of International Union of Plant Variety. It is implement that such should be the case earlier. The options for the countries joining UPOV was to have their national law compatible with UPOV and it. However, after coming into force of UPOV 91, such an option does not exist for countries which have not sent their draft bill UPOV for reference, although this is a continuous issue. Many countries, including India, have argued that providing effective plant variety protections through two generis system need to mean parity with UPOV 91, increased use of biotechnology in producing transgenic crop varieties and genetically modified organisms also required development of biosafety norms to regulate trade in such crops, animal and product. As such as 60% of the marketed products in some commodities have biotechnological inputs in some of the development countries. A significant part of it involves transgenic crops. India government has not yet enacted either genesis systems or plant variety act which is in conformity with WTO provisions. However, author has had access to the new plant variety and farmer right bill which is quite unique in many aspects and has been summarized in third part. It is author contentions that we cannot hope to make our agriculture self-reliant if the public sector agriculture research remain totally under the strangleholds of governments. It should have autonomy and be much more accountable to various user groups. Such will continue to be the case till research and development institutions primarily rely on government for funds. It is obvious the public sector research and development has played a very crucial role in agriculture growth in the country. The tragedy is that even well-off beneficiaries of this growth did not share any part of their economic gains with the research and development institutions. So much so that central and state seed corporations never paid any revenue to the research institutions and universities. WTO implications will force agriculture research and developments and trade sectors to become more efficient and competitive. Intellectual property rights protections for public and private sector scientists as well as institutions is likely to contribute to this process. With the experience of different countries which have enacted Plant Variety Protection Act and have tried to cope with biosafety norms as a consequence of increasing roles of biotechnology in development and transfer of agriculture product, seed, animal breeds. The lessons for Indian policy and options for future negotiations are maintained in the ends. Three permissible expectations to the basic rules on patentability. Inventions country to order public or morality. This explicitly includes inventions dangers to humans, animals, or plant life, or health, or seriously prejudicial to the environments. The use of this exceptions is subjected to the conditions that commercial explosion of the invention must also be prevented, and these preventions must be necessary for the productions of order, public, or morality. Diagnostic, therapeutic, and surgical methods for the treatments of humans or animals, plant and animals other than microorganisms, and essentiality biological process for the productions of plants or animals other than known biologicals and microbial process. However, any country excluding plant varieties from patent protections must provide an effective sui generis system of protections. The knowledge and activity of breeder is sought to be protected more vigorously. It has to do so by protecting the public sector research and development, much of which unfortunately has become weak over the years. But also create environment for promoting farmer-led research, farmer and scientist partnerships in research, and private and public sector collaborations in research. Basic purpose of UPOV is to ensure national treatment for any breeders of the world at par with domestic breeders. The UPOV 1991 as the UPOV document so January 99 tries to achieve the following. Article 14 1A of the 1991 Act made the breeders' right more precise. There is a view that inclusions of conditioning for the purpose of propagation does not extend the breeder domains, since conditioning is just one step in the chain of developing propagation material, but instead makes his rights enforceable by extending the breeder rights under Articles 14.2 of 1991 Act. UPOB 19.1 Act to harvested materials where breeder has not had enough opportunity to exercise his right in relations to the propagating materials 1999. Infrequence in some cases may become apparent only when the harvested produce comes into market through one has to prevent absence of diligence. In prior scrutiny and objections, it also means that the important of harvested materials can also be protected both by way of collections of royalty and safeguarding the interest of national license procedure. The provision of compulsory licensing can be was be involved in the events of special national interest. Farmer pavilions can be protected in terms of right to save seed, exchange it for non-commercial purpose. The issue there here is that Indian breeders will need all these protections in other countries. The mindset where we evaluate everything from an imports perspective must change. So, WTO role in agriculture sector is very broad, and your imports capacity reduce and export capacity increase after that changes in act and regulations.